the ultimate test. Man and beast in perfect harmony. On this famous Republic Day in Indian history, 5 boys and 4 girls will line up in a festival of equine brilliance. A battle of the sexes to crown an ultra champion. The winners of both the 1,000 and 2,000 guineas, but will they stay the extra half mile? The first and second in the Oaks, but can the ladies mix it with the boys at the business end? The pomp, the pageantry, the glitz, the glamour. It's time for the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021. It's live, it's now, on One Play Sports.
Welcome everybody into the One Play Sports studio. Happy Republic Day to everybody in India and indeed the Indians living around the world. We're delighted to bring you exclusive live coverage of the 2021 Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby. The race itself is still a good hour away. We're going to give you all the pomp and pageantry of the build-up and hopefully help you find the winner as well. And to do that, we have an horse racing expert extraordinaire with us, the founder of One Play Sports, Mr. Mohit Lalvani, and delighted as well to be joined in the presentation chairs by Mohit and Mandira Lalvani. Mandira, great to have you here as well. And of course, you were on the ground in Bangalore a little over 12 months ago now. Not the same being in the studio, but nevertheless, you bring glamour to proceedings.
It's your company, Patrick. I wouldn't trade that. No, it's fantastic to be in Bangalore and on ground to have all the excitement, because as you've been calling races and you've covered horse racing for so many years, you know there's nothing quite like live sport and being there. Having said that, after the kind of year that we've all had, I think we're just really happy that racing is back and up and running, and we have a fantastic race to look forward to. There are 9 contenders. As you said, it's the fillies versus the colts at the business end of it, and I do think the fillies will hold up, and of course we'll talk about that a bit later. But let's bring Mohit into the conversation. I don't know if you recall this or if you saw this, but before the Kingfisher Ultra Indian Derby last year in 2020, we did a fashion piece with Mohit Lalvani, who dressed up for the Derby. And in that piece he said, I don't wear cufflinks to the race course because I find them too heavy. Now, we have a Twitter poll around this, but more importantly, I've seen that Mo's wearing very colorful socks today. So, should we start with the fashion part of it?
Well, given to me by a very dear friend of mine and a very, very passionate racehorse owner, Vispi Patel. So, happy to be wearing them. And
so they have got a horsey connection.
Well, they actually do have a horsey connection.
And I've got
right.
cufflinks on. Have you got cufflinks on?
I'm not wearing cufflinks. I'm like a pugilist, Patrick. You know,
now,
every ounce counts.
You are looking fresh, but I do detect a couple of bags under the eyes. Now, that must be because you were up all night studying the form book, looking at the past runs. So, you confident you're going to give everyone watching this coverage on One Play Sports the winner of the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby for 2021?
Well, I think I'm there. I think, you know, I've taken a really deep look at the card, as well as the pedigree, as well as the previous races of all the runners, and it wasn't easy. You know, it's a very tricky race. We discussed this yesterday, but I think I'm there.
Okay, well, we'll keep people in suspense and make them keep watching. And talking about yesterday, if you haven't caught our preview show, there's still time just about to maybe watch 2 shows at the same time. Go back and catch it. And the team here at One Play Sports have done an incredible job as well with our content on the ground in Bangalore. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Give us a like, share, follow and comment. There's so much, the colour, all the horse stories and what's going on in Bangalore for you to discover on the One Play Sports social media channels. I think it's about time actually we checked in on the ground at Bangalore and saw how the course is looking. Majestic weather in Bangalore in the build-up to this. Unfortunately, they can't welcome the hordes in to the race course. I think there was something like 75 passes given to Kingfisher, the sponsors, and 100 Bangalore Turf Club members going to be allowed in. Is it possible for us to have a quick glimpse and see what's happening on the ground there in Bangalore? Well, we're actually currently, this is the feed we're getting, and this is a build-up to a race we're going to show you in about 15 minutes' time, which is the race before the Derby, a very competitive field. And we'll come back to the course, actually, because with that competitive field in mind, let's have a look at the card for the Derby, which starts at 4:30 in the afternoon IST. We'll go through the runners and riders now, and to give us the runners and riders, for a big race, you need a big caller, and we've got the biggest caller of them all, our ace commentator for the 2021 Kingfisher Ultra Indian Derby. in Bangalore is Mr. Nicholas Child. Nick, great to have you with us. Run us through those runners and riders for today's big race.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pat. The Kingfisher Ultra Derby, the Group 1 feature coming up this afternoon. Number 1 is Acaster, the mount of Darshan, drawn in 7. 2, Christopher Wren, YS Srinath in gate 1. 3 is Forever Together, certainly spruiked up by many as a bit of an underrated runner in this. Suraj Naradu will take the ride from 2. 4 is Lagarde, the mount of Akshay Kumar in 9. 5, Sovereign Legend, the mount of Sandesh in gate number 8. And then we get down to the fillies. 6 is Antibes, the mount of S. John, a winner of the Oaks last time, drawn gate number 6. 7 is the unbeaten Forest Flame. Trevor Patel takes the ride from gate number 3. Will she stay? It's all still to play out with her. 8 is Perfect Imagination, the mount of T.S. Jodha in 4. And 9 down at the bottom is Ramunctious, the mount of Niraj Raul in gate number 5. Excellent renewal of this race, Pat. Certainly looking forward to it, and a quality lineup assembled.
Nick, and as we see live pictures of the horses getting ready for the curtain raiser race, if you like, we should also show live. A quick word on Forest Flame, because I know you're very sweet on her chances. You told us all about that on the preview show yesterday. And Trevor Patel's been informed as well. He's been firing in the winners yesterday at Bangalore, so there's no need for you to change your mind. You're definitely in the camp of Forest Flame. Yeah,
and he's got an excellent record in this race as well, the feature race. Trevor Patel, obviously, he's won a few of these prior to today, and he's obviously got a very smart mount in the shape of Forest Flame. Look, she's done very little wrong. She's a winner of 4 black-type races. 2 of them were classics, so there's a lot to like about her. It's whether or not she stays. That's the big question mark, and that's the big question that she has to answer. But she's all quality, and certainly looking forward to seeing her in action.
Not often you get a Derby race, and there's more people talking about the 1,000 guineas winner than the 2,000 guineas winner, but that is the case here. So you're looking at the horses in the parade ring for the race that's scheduled to go off at 3:50 IST, which isn't actually too far away from now. But we'll come back to those pictures in just a minute, because it's right in these troubled times for everyone around the world. We salute the work that Kingfisher have done in their unrivaled support for not just horse racing but sport in India. And our man who's done such a great work in Bangalore through the week, Anubhav Jain, has been to the head offices of Kingfisher in Bangalore, where he caught up with their head of marketing at United Breweries, Mr. Gurpreet Singh.
Hi Patrick, I'm sitting at the UB office in Bangalore with UB's head of marketing, Mr. Gurpreet Singh. Gurpreet, great to have you on our One Play Sports Networks. I have to kick things off talking about the long-standing partnership between UB and horse racing. The sport, it's a long partnership for over 30 years, I believe. So talk to me about the genesis of this partnership and how it's evolved and transpired over the years.
Thank you. Always a good pleasure to be with One Play Sports on this fantastic, lovely, live digital platform. And hello to everybody who's watching us as well. You're right, this has been a long-term partnership. In fact, I suspect this might be one of those partnerships which is one of the longest brand sports partnerships in this country, which has gone unbroken for 32 years now. Partnership like that is not just about brand building. At some point, I think it becomes a bit about passion, emotion, and a connection between two partners who truly understand each other and each other's values. And I think United Breweries and Bangalore Turf Club truly epitomize that. So over the 30 years, brand Kingfisher has evolved from one amongst many brands to becoming one of India's most iconic brands, leading beer brand, of course. And Kingfisher Ultra within its portfolio is all about lifestyle, glamour, slight Uber living, and therefore we sign off with our tagline, live the ultra life. I think at the Derby, people truly come and experience that, even if it's just that one day, of what that Uber life, that extra life could be all about. And I see this in two ways as far as consumers are concerned. There's a generation of consumers who are achieving, striving for bigger, better things in life. And there's a young consumer who interprets it very differently, which is about balancing his life. The work-life balance, which was so sorely missing with a slightly older generation, is something the youngsters strive to find their footing within. And I think Brand Ultra brings to them experiences which allow them to take a break from their heavy, busy schedule and enjoy themselves on an occasion, whether it's with fashion, music, or a sporting event like Kingfisher Ultra Derby, which is a bit of a mix of all of it put together, right? It's sport and glamour brought under one banner. And over the years, the Bangalore's who's who glitterati have, at some point of time, have attended the Kingfisher Ultra Derby. This is something they look forward to in their calendar every year. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, many changes had to take place, and we had to reschedule ourselves from the typical July season that we do this in to January. But interestingly, it gives us 6 months of undeterred racing, because from here we move to the Indian Derby in Mumbai, and we are back in Bangalore in July. So you've got a very busy, packed schedule for the brand, for the racing community. And I'm very happy that we were able to facilitate this for the racing enthusiasts and those who follow horse racing, because it would have been easy to just give it a skip and say we'll come back next year. But I think it's important to make sure that the brands partner and support such initiatives. At trying times like this, I think sports livens you and brings you together like no other. So I'm very happy that we've been able to continue this partnership and bring the activity together in spite of the difficulties it has faced. And One Play Sport has helped us do that in such wonderful ways, because earlier this was largely a focused physical event, but now we have truly made it a phygital event. Yes, there will still be a physical event with some controls on how many people can come in and things like that, but the idea of taking it digital, live, I think takes the sport to so many more households, in the comfort of their households and the safety of their households. And this is something I see as not a one-off, I see it as a trend. I'm reasonably sure that even when the sporting environment comes back to being normal post the pandemic, phygital as a format is something brands, sporting activities will continue to follow, and it's a great place for One Play Sport to be in and help us partner with and bring this to so many of our viewers.
Fantastic. Gurpreet, thank you so much to United Breweries for their contributions to not just horse racing in general, but of course to the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore. And it's One Play Sports' pleasure to be broadcasting this event and hope to continue the partnership in the future as well. Cheers.
Look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Over to you in the studio, Patrick.
Yeah, great stuff. That was Minute Mandira. I mean, great to hear someone like Gurpreet so passionate.
Absolutely. And you know, I remember being with him when he attended his very first horse race. And from just being in the lounge and hanging around, he's actually got to a point that during the racing weekend, we have a few punts, etc. And Kingfisher Ultra is such a fantastic sponsor that they're so supportive, of course, of a sport that is sadly dying in India. But more importantly, here in our studio, they've also sent us Kingfisher Ultra to be had later.
I mean, racing's got that problem around the world, isn't it, Mohit? I mean, some jurisdictions are doing better than others, but Kingfisher, a big part of why horse racing is trying to make a comeback.
Well, if you take a look at horse racing around the world, there are always marquee properties, marquee races that pick up the sport. Yes, everyday racing, going to the provincial tracks, going to the smaller tracks, going to see Class 4 races, yes, that part is dying. But when you get a brand like Kingfisher coming on board and making the Bangalore Derby and the Indian Derby what it is today, those properties are just going from strength to strength. They're certainly not dying. You know, they're only becoming stronger and stronger year on year, and that's because of the ownership of the property. I think, Patrick, very quickly, he's coined a phrase, phygital, which is really interesting because, you know, we've joked about it before, but I think he's hit on something really interesting because, as you know, I can't say much more about it, you know, on a live broadcast, but as you know, for the last 1 year or so, we've been really investing tons and tons of resources, money and time to build a phygital experience for sports fans across the world, and hopefully we're just 2 months away or less than that from unleashing that to sports fans.
Exciting times for sport indeed. Now do stay with us. We're going to take a very, very short break to thank our esteemed sponsor, Kingfisher Ultra, and then we'll be back starting our build-up to our preview race. We'll also hear from the chairman of the Bangalore Turf Club. Stay with us right here on One Play Sports on a Bangalore Derby Day, brought to you by Kingfisher Ultra, right here. Yeah, thanks indeed to Kingfisher Ultra. Live racing coming away in just a couple of minutes. We can cross back live, though, to Bangalore racetrack now, because Antibes Jane is with the chairman of the Bangalore Turf Club and the senior steward as well, Mr. Vinod Sivappa.
The stage is set for the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore 2021, and I'm standing by the side of the chairman of the Bangalore Turf Club. Sir, a couple of hours before we begin proceedings, walk me through what you're feeling right now.
Well, of course, elated, in fact, and the thunder of hooves for the question is that we've had a lull in the system, as you are very well aware, and now we're coming to this blue ribboned center stage, the UB Ultra Kingfisher Derby. As you all know, they've been always magnanimous in sponsoring the event for the last 30 years, and we are looking forward for them also to come ahead for the summer derby. As you all know, that we have gone through a hell of a lot of trouble due to this pandemic, which I hopefully feel, and you too, which is coming down rapidly. And in all sports, in all disciplines will take off, and they will have spectators. As you know, we are having this spectator list. The government has come forward in a very magnanimous manner. They've always been supportive, they've always been kind, and they have given us the permission, and so we intend having a cracker of a race, which we are looking forward to. The weather is fine, the track is in good condition, and all the boys, the support staff and the management committee, all eager. And I would like to also mention that our management committee stood shoulder to shoulder, and also the support staff. They have done a tremendous job in keeping away the pandemic. Although we house nearly 900 odd horses, we have about 650 zamedars, saises, and so on and so forth. The discipline has been highest standards. Cleanliness is maintained, and the vet department is all gaga, and so be it. I mean, we are looking forward for this event after a lull, as I mentioned, and hope to see better times for the racing industry and the racing fraternity at large all over in the country. And I also believe that the Invitation Cup is going to be slated in April, and the Derby sometime in end of February. So we are moving ahead in the right direction, and I wish all the patrons, all the racehorse owners, and everybody who is in the within the racing circuit, all the very best. And I would like to also add, not last but not the least, on behalf of the Bangalore Turf Club Management Committee and on my own behalf, I thank you and all the patrons who have come here, and all the people who have supported the government, and all the officials, the bureaucracy who've always stood by us. A big thank you. God bless one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure speaking with you, and I'll catch you around. You hit all the right notes, sir. Pleasure. Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Lovely to hear from Mr. Vinod Sivappa, the chairman of the Bangalore Turf Club and chief steward as well. Let's hope the chief steward isn't very busy today, if there's any argy-bargy in the finish of our big race. And now we need to move fast, because we are going to bring you an extra special bonus race, which is, if you like, the curtain raiser to the Derby. 14 runners go to post, and here they all are, runners and riders, with our big race caller, Nick Child.
Yes, thank you very much, Pat. This is the race that precedes us into the Derby. Runners around at the start already for race 5 on the programme here this afternoon. A 1,200-metre handicap, and a fiercely competitive one as well. Number 1 is Acaster, drawn in gate number 3. 2, Regal Music in gate 10. 3 is Life Awaits, drawn in 7. 4, Sidewinder. Yellow, red and blue colours, unlike your publications of maroon and white halves, runs from gate number 13. 5 is The Response, drawn in gate number 9. There we go to number 6, Animal Queen. Also slightly different set of silks to your publications, possibly yellow and blue set of silks on that one, drawn 11. 7 is Big Boon in gate number 1. 8 is one of the fancied runners, Hokkaido, drawn in gate number 5. 9 is Alpha, drawn 2. 10 is Royal Resolution in gate number 8. Sandesh takes the ride there. 11 is Wings of Desire in 6. 12 is Delmar, drawn out wide in 14 for Ryan Marshall. 13, Donabella in 4. And 14, making up the field, is Sky Fire with a lightweight, drawn in gate 12.
Thanks, Nick. And as you can see, the runners are going behind, so we haven't got much time to preview it, but it's great to see how the track is riding. And also, I think you've noticed the name missing from that race card, Mohit.
That's right. Trevor Patel isn't in this race. He's probably wanted to take a break just before the race, the big one, the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby. We did mention earlier, Patrick, that this is a festival of racing. There's a lot going on, and we're about to get on with our first one.
So, not much time to build up, Nick. I can tell you the betting market makes this a 2-horse race. Delmar and Hokkaido are the ones fancied by the punters. Which one do you like the look of, Nick?
Well, very keen on Hokkaido actually here, Pat, as they load them away pretty quickly here for this 1200-metre handicap. Last few about to come forward. Alpha will go into gate number 2, and out wide Delmar in the orange silk. So we're just about set. This is the race before the Derby, and the line looks pretty good. They stand well, set, they're off, away and racing. Big Boon was a little bit slow away from the inside in company with Alpha as they raced away over 1200 metres and getting away very quickly. Life Awaits in the centre. Now just being passed by Animal Queen, who's going to take it up with the white sleeves on a blue jacket as they settle fully into stride. Racing into that first turn, Big Boon along the inside of runners. Sidewinder is deeper on the track. They are being followed then by Donabella next in the field with a white cap as they make the run back towards. I'm looking to the back of the field. Sky Fire is one of them right out the back, along with Quasar in the orange sleeves as they begin to race then through halfway. And it's Big Boon in front who leads from Animal Queen on its outside. Back in third we've got Donabella. They are being followed then by the shadow-rolled Wings of Desire up on the outside with the hooped cap of maroon and white as they turn down the straight. And it's still Big Boon the leader from Animal Queen in second. Donabella's working hard. Hokkaido now pulled off heels in behind Wings of Desire. They're being followed by Alpha in the green jacket right down the outside. Also trying to make a bit of progress is Regal Music. They've got a furlong left to run here. It's Big Boon the inside who's now been mastered by Wings of Desire. Alpha is absolutely swamping them from Hokkaido. Regal Music trying to run on. It's Wings of Desire the inside. The near side is Alpha, and Alpha going to the line. The better will win it. Beats Wings of Desire into second. Hokkaido may have run third, and they were just in advance of the remainder.
Well, Nick, that was an exciting finish, and well, the two joint favourites, if you like, the only ones the punters wanted to know about, are nowhere to be found. Do you think that's an omen for the big race?
It's probably not impossible, Pat. It's probably a fair pointer, I would suggest, perhaps going forward. But a good win and a nice strong win as well. They're seeing out the 6 furlongs very well indeed. And as Mo had alluded to on the preview show, it's a stiff uphill finish at Bangalore, and certainly seeing it out the best. Not sure what happened here, but one or two riders not in partnership with their mounts here.
Now let's have a look at this, Mo. I'm not sure what happened here. Is that the winner that took a bad step past the post?
Well, I think somebody's dropped their jockey for sure, and someone's walking back, so...
See, it's number 9. I mean, that's the winner, I think. I thought so. I think on that replay we saw it must have been after the finish line, Mandira, but just took a bad step because it's quite a short distance after the finish line to when they have to go around the bend again.
Well, he's either taken a misstep and he might have come back a bit short, or he's bled, one of the two, which is when a jockey would get off them. But he looks like he's walking. He's walking fine. So.
Yeah. Nick, any ideas there? I mean, I was just looking at that short distance from the finish line to when they have to go around the bend again, and I think the host broadcaster did show us a little clip there where the horse may have just taken a bad step.
Yeah, I think so, Pat. Obviously not quite sure, as Mo alluded to there. The horse actually looks okay. It doesn't look anything too substantial. Obviously, the rider just wandering behind with that runner. So, look, interesting situation we have after the line. Not quite sure what happened. Obviously, we cut away from such pictures, but hopefully, I think the rider's going to get back on board now, and all should be okay.
Yes, all does seem to be okay. The rider's back on his mount, and there's the winner of the curtain raiser, as you called it. Mo, you watched the race. Nick, so did you. What did you make of the track?
Well, the track's running fine. I think what I make of the entire race is that we have the best race caller in the world calling our races this afternoon.
I agree.
You're far too kind. You're far too kind. We've got the Derby to come yet, Mo.
All right. Okay, but the track is playing fine, Nick. Just very quickly, One thing I think you need to be careful of, we shouldn't really have to see that in the Derby in case a jockey panics, is turning for home. It's a sharp turn, and they really shouldn't sweep so wide because it can unbalance a horse and it can get them in a bit of trouble. Going back to the Derby contenders, Nick, I'm not sure if you noticed when you took a look at the replays, was that happened to Antibes when she won the Oaks.
Yes. Indeed. Just having a look at the winner there, he's returned well. But no, as you say, obviously that sharp bend is certainly quite prevalent, isn't it, at Bangalore? And I'm sure that is where it will all unfold in the big one coming up very shortly.
And because obviously 14 runners there, only 9 runners in the Derby, but there's every reason to suggest that the scrimmaging for any position in that big race, Mo, it will be quite fierce, because we talked on the previous show yesterday about, horses proven at the distance, horses maybe suited by a slower pace. It's going to be very interesting as we get a look at the photo in conclusive proof that Alpha has won the Kumaraja MAM Mathaya Trophy for 2021. So the build-up will start in just a couple of moments for the big race. We're going to take a very short break. We'll come back with the result of the race you've just seen run and then start to cast our expert eye with Nick Child, Mandira and Mohit Alvani here in the One Place Sports studio as our coverage of the Kingfisher Ultra Derby 2021 from Bangalore is continuing. Back live on One Place Sports, the Bangalore Derby Day, brought to you by our good friends at Kingfisher Ultra. Now, the only person busier than the horses and the jockeys this week in Bangalore has been our own Antibes Jain, and we can cross live to the track, I believe. Have you got the winning jockey there? I hope you haven't stopped him from weighing in. Crack on, Antibes.
5, 9 seconds. Prashant, walk me through how the race was. कैसी थी race?
Race तो बहुत अच्छी थी. My instruction was to ride my own race. So I did it, and horse ran really very well.
Race के पहले कितने confident थे आप?
I was not that much of confident because the horse was running after a long time. So मैं just अपनी ride किया and I won.
और आपकी strategy क्या थी race में?
Strategy actually I was trying to go to the front, but unfortunately मैं नहीं जा पाया. So I sat behind.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Patrick, over to you in the studio.
Nice work, Antibes. I tell you something, he's a brave boy. It's very difficult to get those jockeys through an interview prior to weighing in. I hope the old klaxon doesn't go off in a minute and the horses disqualified because he didn't weigh in.
Yeah, the stewards would be calling him, can you come and weigh in, right? So, and he shook hands with him as well. Yeah, and we saw that technically he shouldn't do that, right?
Yes, because we are observing social distancing.
No, because he could have passed. The jockey could have passed him away.
I thought you were talking about COVID-19.
No, I'm kidding. We all shake hands with the jockeys after they won big races.
So
you practically hug the jockeys.
Of course, we're speaking from our studio in Singapore. No such thing would ever go on at the Singapore Turf Club, I can assure you. Let's just check it. Are we able to get that full result just to confirm it? The 1, 2, 3. We got that ready and standing by. Let's have a look if we can cross back to live pictures from the track and see if our host broadcaster, in fact, if we can tell people what the result is. Are we able to go back live to the Bangalore Turf Club?
So I think they might have to wait for the all clear before they post the official
result.
result.
The provisional result. And let's have a look at the live pictures from Bangalore. It may be that we're on a results graphic at the Bangalore Turf Club. Indeed we are. But that'll do, actually. That's your confirmation. 9 Alpha beats 11 Wings of Desire. 2 Regal Music. Nick gave you one in the top 4. Hokkaido, Skyfire 5th. Absolutely nowhere, by the way. One of the shortest prize runners in the field. Del Mar. Those distances: a neck, 2.5 lengths, and a nose and 1 length. So there you have it. That was a nice little chance to have a glimpse at what's happening on the track and how the track is running. I think it's safe to say it's a very lush covering of grass, but it's going to be running fast. The weather in Bangalore has been glorious, which is great, obviously, if you're trying to get a suntan, but if you're trying to run a racehorse, you know the ground's going to be on the firm side of good.
That's right, and they would have watered it a bit. It's definitely going to be on the firm side of good. I don't know what the penetrometer reading is, but I'm almost certain it's going to be good. It's not as quick. Just, you know, Mandira talked earlier about the Festival of Racing, and obviously on the back of this we go into the Indian Derby. It's not as quick as the Mahalakshmi track in Bombay, because that's a straighter track. It's a much, you know, it's a much truer track actually. You don't need to be a front runner or a horse that comes from behind to have an advantage. This is a shorter straight. There is an uphill. You will see a slightly slower timing, but having said that, it's a true test.
Okay. I tell you something, actually, because that's intrigued me when you were talking about the going down. I know everyone interested in the Derby will want to know how the track is riding. And earlier on today, Antibes Jane, in fact, just an hour ago, caught up with the trainer of Christopher Wren, Mr. Neil Darashar. So let's go back in time, if you like, an hour, because Antibes and Neil Darashar were on the actual track. So let's hear from One Play Sports' own Antibes Jane with Neil Darashar.
The stage is set for the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore 2021, just a couple of hours away from the main event, and I'm standing next to a face who's been on our One Play Sports Networks in the past, champion trainer Neil Darashar. Neil, good to have you on our networks. What do you make of the track here at the Bangalore Turf Club?
Okay, the track today, very important part of racing today. No one realizes how important it is. We're always looking at the horses and the jockeys and the trainers, but the track could make a big difference. Bangalore at this time of the year in January is going to be a pretty fair track. No rain around, firm, good to firm. So horses are going to gallop from behind, they're going to gallop from in front, no problem at all. But the killer on this track, the Bangalore track, is the elevation from about 4.5 furlongs out, 5 furlongs out. You're climbing right up to the winning post. From 1,000 meters out to the winning post, you're climbing almost 30 feet. And that's a big ask for a horse. So you've got a sharp turn in Bangalore, at about 1,000, it starts from 1,000 out, a climb to the winning post. So you don't want to be caught out on this track. You want to be covered up, you want to be closer to the fence. That's the secret of the Bangalore track. Track looks good, nice and firm. So the false rails have also been taken off from yesterday. So we're going to have a fresh track, a good track, and a fair track.
Brilliant, Neil. Thank you so much as always, and good luck today at the races. Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, another handshake there, and that seemed to have worked for Neil because he won the previous race with Alpha. And now let's talk about Christopher Wren, his charge in the main race. Mo, what do you think? Do you think he's a bit of a dark horse?
Well, I think he's got a lot to find. You know, he's run against Lagarde, and he's been a long way behind. I think he's got a lot to find. I took a look at the race. I couldn't find any reason to see him reverse the form. I mean, if there's a question mark about Lagarde staying the 1.5 miles, there's an equal question mark about Christopher Wren getting the 1.5 miles. He is son of Phoenix Star, and Phoenix Star is better known for his speed influence in his progeny than he is for stamina. He has, of course, thrown the odd horse that gets 1.5 miles and even further, but I've seen nothing to suggest that he's going to be able to beat the horse that beat him in the 2000
Don't
guineas.
say that, because I drew Christopher Wren in the sweepstakes in the office, so I've got Christopher Wren.
Why am I not surprised?
I'm the unluckiest man on earth, aren't I? Which incidentally, Christopher Wren is 16-1. Now, I'm not saying Mohit Lalvani knows his horses, but I was looking at the morning line odds this morning, and I said to him, Mohit, they really think this is going to win this Forest Flame. It's 6-4 in the English press. In the Racing Post, they put him in at 6-4, which is 1.5-1. And Mohit Lalvani said to me, too short. He'll be 5-2, which is 2.5-1. And I'm looking now at the up-to-date odds. And what price is Forest Flame? 2.5-1.
Well, there you go.
I'll just give you a quick update on the betting market, because as we've been building up, this wasn't a false build-up to this race. It really is wide open. For a 9-runner race to have 5-2 joint favourites tells you how competitive it is. Lagarde and Forest Flame both in at 5-2. 7-2 is Forever Together. If you're not familiar with odds, that's 3.5-1. And we're going with Antibes, yeah? Antibes?
Antibes.
Antibes. Nick will get it right, the excellence of elocution. That is a 9-2 chance, 4.5-1. Also 4.5-1, 9-2 Ramunctious. Ramunctious, 14 to 1 Sovereign Legend, 16 to 1 Christopher Wren, Acaster is 29 to 1, and Perfect Imagination is also now 30 to 1. If you did draw Perfect Imagination in the sweepstakes, you're going to need a Perfect Imagination to imagine that crossing the finishing line first in just over half an hour's time. Stay with us. We'll take another quick break to thank our good friends at Kingfisher Ultra, and then the build-up to the big race will begin in earnest right here on One Play Sports on Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby Day 2021.
For those who want more from life, Kingfisher Ultra. Live the ultra life.
Welcome back live into the One Play Sports studio. I'm getting excited now, Mandira. Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby Day 2021. We haven't had your pick. I mean, I'm going to stick with the outsider, Christopher Wren, because I drew him in the sweepstake. What do you? You're a shrewd judge, Mandira.
You think?
What's your pick for the big race?
And Antibes.
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 Interesting.
Interesting.
To try and hold up.
I was tempted to go with Forest Flame, but the same question, right? Will she stay? Will she not? She's had 5 wins of 5 starts, and obviously that speaks a lot. But then that's the whole thing.
But you're going for the girls to beat the boys either way.
Obviously.
Yeah, well, Moet went the opposite way when we spoke to him yesterday. Right, let's check out the runners and riders. We'll be able to cross live to the parade ring. There it is. And, of course, if you're not familiar with Indian racing, don't be shocked if you see a rather unkempt-looking chap on top of the horses, because there is a tradition in India where the jockeys don't ride the horses in the parade ring. The strappers and the sizes do. Right, so there is the glorious scene of the Bangalore Turf Club, and Nick Child is standing by to give you the runners and riders for the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021. All yours, Nick.
Yes, thank you, Pat. Scene certainly set there over in Bangalore for this feature race coming up, the Kingfisher Ultra Derby, a Group 1 and a superb renewal it is as well. Number 1 is Acaster, the Mount of Darshan, draws gate number 7. 2, Christopher Wren, trained by Neil Darashar, who just won our previous race, drawn in gate number 1. That one. 3 is Forever Together in gate number 2. Suresh Naradu will take the ride there. 4 is Lagarde in barrier number 9. 5 is Sovereign Legend, drawn 8 next door to Lagarde. And down to the fillies we go. Number 6 is Antibes, the Mount of S. John, winner of the Bangalore Oaks last time. She's bidding to add a derby to her dance card here this afternoon. 7 is Forest Flame, unbeaten in 5. Trevor Patel rides in gate number 3. And as you can see on that graphic, the fillies receive 1.5 kilos. 8, Perfect Imagination, is drawn in 4. And 9, who was runner-up in the Oaks, Ramunctious, is drawn in gate number 5. They are the 9 that will go to post for the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby of 2021.
Thank you very much for that, Nick. Now, the trip is to 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles. How much of a role is the draw going to play?
I think it's going to play a big part, really. I think as we saw in our previous, I know it was only a 6-furlong race, but I think some of these are going to want to get a position for sure. I mean, as far as speed mapping goes for mine, I've sort of got Ramunctious on top as far as some early speed is concerned, and I don't think they'd want to be too far away, because even with unproven stamina with some of these runners, they certainly won't want to get themselves too far back. So I think draw could be all crucial. Forest Flame is drawn in 3, so she's obviously nicely enough drawn in gate number 3, and when you look to some of the other more fancied runners as well, she's next door to Forever Together, who will race in similar sort of colours, and look, is very much a horse who is stepping up in trip, a bit like Forest Flame. So it's going to be important, I'm sure, and it will certainly play its part here in the feature race.
said Forever Together. Mohit, Suraj Naredu has chosen to ride Forever Together. What do you make of that?
Well, I think you know, it couldn't have been an easy call for him because he's he's deserted the winner of a dual 2,000 guineas, and I think it really elevates the chances of Forever Together in this race. I personally just feel that it's all a bit too soon. 2 starts, a mile and a half. This is a Grade 1 race. You know, I mean, we've seen strange things happen, but not in a race like this. I think it's too soon. I think we'll see a lot more of him when we go to Bombay for the Indian Derby on the 20th of March.
So you're with us live on One Play Sports, and we're looking at live pictures in the parade ring. We've already seen a couple of them. We caught a glimpse of Perfect Imagination, who's one of the rank outsiders. Has got heart, that filly, though, so don't be surprised if Perfect Imagination runs into a place. And there is Forever Together. I'm looking at the betting market, Mohit. This is the shortest price runner of the male contingent. And speaking of the male contingent, there they are.
Yeah.
Forever Together. I mean, that was the horse you went with yesterday, and you went with the 2,000 guineas winner.
No, I went with the 2,000 guineas winner, and I had Forever Together in 4th. I still believe that it's going to be, it's a tall order for him to come out and win this on just his 3rd start against, you know, a Group 1 winner, as well as a dual guineas winner. It's not going to be easy.
Pad Manaban knows what it takes to win a Bangalore.
Oh, he does.
He trained Sovereign Legend, who we just saw. Now we get another look at a Perfect Imagination. Warren Singh trains, and T.S. Jodha, who has had a winner over the last couple of days himself. And you might be able to identify some of these dignitaries in the parade ring that we'll be seeing in this build-up, Mohit.
You know, I must say that Hari Mohan Naidu, the former chairman of the RWI, of the BTC, you know, he's been very helpful in coordinating everything. You know, we're doing everything here from Singapore, and he's been on ground for us as, you know, working together with Kingfisher and with One Play Sports to make sure that this has all gone very well. And, you know, big shout out to him. You know, I just saw him in the parade ring, and there is Forever Together. Nick, question for you. Do you think too soon?
I do, to an extent, and again, I sort of I go with the sort of the take that, you know, there aren't many derbies, there aren't many classics, and you only sort of get one real go at them, don't you, in your classic year. So I certainly commend them for having a go. In regards to is it too soon, quite possibly. I mean, having a look back at his win last time, he absolutely obliterated them by 6 lengths. It was a massive victory, but this is a massive step up indeed. So he's got so much to prove.
And of course we have to talk when it comes to Forever Together, as we've got to look at Sovereign Legend there. With Forever Together, we've got this conundrum of the jockey bookings, haven't we? Because there is a school of thought that Suraj Naredu got off Lagarde to get on Forever Together. Do you think people are reading too much into that, Mohit?
No, I don't think so. I think he's a great judge of horseflesh. He knows what he's doing. He believes it's going to be very close. There are the connections, Rajesh Naredu and Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla, who, by the way, is the chairman of the Serum Institute of India that's vaccinating half the world right now. So, you know, a big shout out to him as well for doing that. And I do know that they've sent free vaccinations to neighboring countries around India. So, you know, really well done.
We caught a glimpse, by the way, number 1, Acaster, just going through. That was the horse that finished behind in the ruck to Forever Together when he blitzed the field last time out. There's back to Forever Together. Do you know anything about the history in India of the way they are sometimes ridden loosely in the parade ring, not by the jockeys? Because it's not something I've certainly seen in many racing jurisdictions. Do you know the thinking behind that?
Well, the idea is you want the horses to be as relaxed as possible, right? And unless you've got something that's on its toes, you'd rather not have a jockey on its back. So generally what a jockey would do, and Nick rides, so he would know this, is that even when you do have a jockey on a horse that's starting to get a bit edgy, you would just remove your feet from the stirrups and just let it settle down. There are the connections of Antibes in the yellow silks.
Yeah, we just caught a glimpse of Antibes going forward. It's a bit unfortunate, Nick, isn't it, that the cameraman isn't staying on the same horse for too long. But just going back to Mohit, referring to your experience of riding, of course, you've looked after some of the best horses in English racing in your youth as a stable lad, Corto Star amongst them, a Grade 1 winner over jump. So do you see the benefits of them being ridden like this in the parade ring?
I certainly do, pal. I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, when I had my, what was a wonderful trip to Hyderabad a good few years ago now, now. I mean, I saw it for the very first time, and I was sort of taken aback by it slightly. But then, once making a few inquiries as to why, it's obviously a long-standing tradition over in India, and it's something that certainly is obviously very much accepted in India, and it's perhaps something that could be adapted elsewhere. But as you can see, the horses for this race especially, they're all very inexperienced runners. They're all very relaxed, and for that reason, the rider boys and the Syces and the riders and so on, riding them around the parade ring in the preliminary certainly plays its part. So if it's going to help, the way that the horses run and keep them nice and relaxed, then so be it. It can't be a bad thing.
I just saw Lagarde going by. He's looking extremely well, and Nick, I took a look at his races. He's a dual Guineas winner. I felt he was still wandering all over the place in the last furlong or so, but he was extremely brave. If you take a look at his last race, he came through on the inside, at the dying stages of a very difficult race, and it takes a horse with a very brave heart to come through on the rail when you've got two horses on your outside.
It certainly does, Moet, and obviously he's got proven form, hasn't he, over the mile, obviously from very much a mile-laden pedigree as well. So he, another one with a little bit to prove, but as you say, he certainly had to tough it out when winning last time, and he's certainly on an upward trajectory. So like the majority of the field, it's a real fascinating conundrum, this, because just having a look at all these runners, I mean, there are obviously the exceptions, Acaster and the likes of Perfectimagination, who obviously have a bit of a mountain to climb, shall we say, amongst others, but it's a real fascinating race because they're all coming into this through different angles, and we've got plenty of classic form, plenty of group race form as well, and the stamina is the big question for many, and it's whether or not they stay. Look, if they do, in my mind, we're going to have a real race on our hands here because this is a quality bunch, and I'm really looking forward to it.
You're a historian of Indian racing, Mohit, and we talk about the importance of pace here with some not doubtful stares, but horses yet to prove their staying credentials against horses that have had them fully franked in terms of Antibes and Ramunctious. Years gone by, it was the procedure in these kind of races in India for them to go at a snail's pace because everybody was terrified they wouldn't stay, and then some bright spark worked out that you could start stealing races in the front, and now they are run at a much truer clip generally, aren't they?
Well, they are. It takes me back to, I think it was 1980 when Mohawk and Wally Swinburne came down, and he stole a march on Everinsky in the Katao silks and Aristocrat in Ramaswamy silks, and he stole a march on them and ran away with the race. But you see a lot less of that now. I think coming back just for a moment to Nick's point with regard to if they stay or not, and even considering your point, Patrick, there is a line of form between Lagarde and Forest Flame, most recently, where they've both beaten the same horse in the Guineas by a length and a half. So there really isn't anything to choose from between the two. Coming to your question on pace, and if we can get the pictures back from from the parade ring, that'll be great. But just coming back to your point on the pace, it's interesting because I tried to take a look at where the pace would come from. Nick, I couldn't find it, and that started to worry me because what will happen is if it turns out to be a crawl, it's going to turn out to be a 1.25 mile race rather than a 1.5 mile race, and I just couldn't figure out where the front will come from.
Absolutely, no, I totally agree, and we may well be in for a bit of a falsely run race, given that there are such doubts in people's minds, possibly. And as you say, if it does develop into a bit of a sort of a sub-1.5 mile contest, that's going to bring one or two others into the race, most definitely. Only really having to technically step up a furlong in trip if that's the way it plays out. So, look, it's a fascinating one. I've got a distinct feeling that we're going to get probably the proven stamina runners to the fore, because at least in their mind, guys, they've got it in their heads that they can stay the trip, and if it does turn into a falsely run race, I think they'll certainly want to be on the front end, but there will be those behind them stacking up that have got speed, and we've seen that on a few occasions with a lot of these, the likes of Forever Together and obviously Forest Flame with plenty of toe, obviously having taken out such a huge win as a 2-year-old as well. So it's an interesting one. It's fascinating how it's going to play out, and there is Perfect Imagination on screen there just going through the shot.
Now, if you were riding on Antibes, you need a quick pace, because if you play into the hands of Forest Flame, who's beaten you before over a mile, You don't want that. You want this to be a 1.5 mile race with her stamina being suspect. Do you go to the front and control the pace from there?
I think you possibly can, yes. I mean, obviously, we spoke about it on the preview show, didn't we, that her pedigree, and she's actually a full sister to Bold Majesty, who won this in 2015.
That's right.
So it's very much a Derby pedigree, and I'm sure they'd love to win this Group 1 with her as well. So there's no reason why they couldn't lead, I don't feel, and make plenty of use of her.
I tell you something that's interesting me. I'm just keeping an eye on how the betting market is going. And, you know, you can talk about forms and pedigrees, but money talks and everything else walks. And what surprises me, when you look at that Oaks form, and we saw the race yesterday, Mandira, Mohit and Nick, on paper, when you look at the race, it's like, well, Antibes picked up and carried Ramunctious quite comfortably, beat her again, absolutely no problems at all. But reading the build-up to this and the thoughts of people in India, there is a school of thought that says Ramunctious wasn't knocked about in that race, maybe with a Derby tilt in mind. And there are some people, you know, that have got more confidence in Ramunctious winning this race and going on to win the Mumbai Derby. I think more people, if you said name one of the fillies that could do the Derby double, more people are saying Ramunctious than Antibes. And I'm looking at the betting market, and now only by a fraction, Ramunctious is a shorter price than Antibes. What that one out, Mohit Lalvani?
Well, I'll tell you something. I think they've got it wrong. You know, from what I've seen in the Bangalore Oaks, yes, it was Ramunctious's third start, and Antibes is definitely more experienced, having run graded races before. But I can't see that form being reversed unless there's a hard luck story there somewhere. I actually don't think Ramunctious got the 1.5 miles on that occasion.
So you think Ramunctious is a doubtful stare, trying the same trip he didn't stay over last time?
I think they'll hold her back a bit. She was up on the pace, but she settled beautifully. She got cover. She didn't have to face the wind at all until she turned for home. And I really can't see her reverse that kind of form. There is Forest Flame, and I wanted to talk about her. She's a bit doughy, isn't she, Nick? 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
You know, she's been like this before. I must say that when she won the Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million, she was like this as well. But that was a 7 furlong. This is a 1.5 miles, and she really, is making life difficult for her handlers.
She certainly is, and as you alluded to there, I went back and had a look at that win, obviously in the multi-millions, and she was very much on her toes as well. But this a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Over 1.5 miles, she's got to contain that energy, because again, she's got to prove herself that she gets the trip, and we know she's classy. It's whether or not she can get away with antics like that. But just on those pictures alone, she wasn't overdoing it too much. I'd like to see her settle down, most definitely, as too will many. And if she does, then I think all will be okay. But you wouldn't want to see her do too much more than that, Mohit.
Well, you've got to say, trainer SS Atalahi's got such a strong hand in this race, with arguably the first and second favourite, with the 1,000 and 2,000 guineas winner. Trevor Patel takes the ride on Forest Flame, and Trevor Patel, incidentally, and the trainer SS Atalahi, they won the feature race in Bangalore yesterday. The Winter Millions was run by Scruples. So they've been in form and took out the feature yesterday. Can they go back-to-back in feature days? And Nick, I know you're an expert paddock watcher, and we're coming to you to see how the horses are going down to post, but there's a few of them a bit fractious. Is that to be expected with probably, even though a smaller crowd in, the horses all sense that this is a big occasion, won't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. They've been absolutely primed for this moment, Pat, and it's what it's all sort of come to, and the culmination of, as we see Ramunctious just head out onto the track. She looks very relaxed. There's a look at Forever Together going down very steady indeed. Obviously, we're taking into account that this horse has been the subject of a certain bit of jockey sort of switcherooing, as it were, and there's so much happening around him. But as you say, obviously a much smaller crowd, that's obviously going to play its part and help matters. But also, as you say, horses will certainly be wound up and fully tuned for a race of this nature. So it can get to them. It can get to them just in track work as well. We've seen that from time to time, and we saw that there with Forest Flame as well.
Sovereign Legend, the last start winner, we're looking at going down to post there. 14-1 for a horse that won its last start. There's no form like winning form, Mohit. I mean, is this a race that's set up for a shocker, or do you think if you really fancy one of the beasts that have already proved themselves, you're going to get some value because the price is bigger, because there's other classic winners in the field?
So just looking at them as they went down, and if somebody wants a bit of a, toss a bit of money on one of the, well, not one of the favourites, but second, third favourite, I thought Antibes going down to the start looks fantastic. I mean, she's moving extremely freely, ears nicely pricked in front. She really seems to be enjoying herself and extremely ready. Nick, your thoughts?
I totally agree. We just saw that shot of them going down to post. That was the 1-2, wasn't it, in the Bangalore Oaks? I wonder will it be the same in a few moments' time, just under 10 minutes' time or so as they go to post. But no, she certainly is moving well. You can see there, ears pricked. She's taken it all in. She's a very happy filly, if nothing else. So, yeah, she certainly looks in very good form. And just quickly, at the previous shot we just saw there, I just caught a glimpse in the background again of 7, Forest Flame, still very much on her toes. So do just monitor that.
That's incredible, Nick, because Forest Flame is the plunger in this. They've now backed Forest Flame down to 2-1 as Forever Together drifts Antibes. I mean, if you take Mohit's advice, Antibes 4-1, just into 7-2 as I speak. So it's 3.5 to 1 Antibes. The same price Ramunctious, who's been rock steady in the field, and it's 14-1 bar those. And I know someone who'll be keeping a very close eye on Forest Flame is the partner of Lee Freeman, one of the Hall of Fame trainers who currently trains here in Singapore, Jo Johnson. She picked out Forest Flame in the sweepstakes. So Singaporean horse racing community taking a big interest in this Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby for 2021. Don't often see horses being led down to the start like that in any other territory, Mohit.
No, you don't. And
this must be that. This is Forest Flame, I would imagine.
It is Forest Flame, and they seem to have settled her down, even if just momentarily. But they seem to have settled her down, and she really, I mean, this is a 1.5 miles, and you really don't want to see, horses getting too warm just before the race. The rest of them looked well. Ramunctious does look well, too. I thought Antibes looked well. Lagarde, we just got one look at him, and I'd like to see him again. Obviously the cameramen at the racetrack at Bangalore can't hear me, but I'd love to get another look at him.
The hearing's not that good, Mohit.
Yeah, it isn't.
I mean, you're doing a very good job. I'm going to start putting you on the spot, Mr. Mohit Lalvani, because you are an incredibly successful entrepreneur, businessman, but you've done the old trick in the studio now. You've basically told me 6 horses can win. I've heard it from Mandira what's going to win the races. I've heard it from Nick Child what's going to win the races. Mohit Lalvani, 1 horse. Who is the winner of the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby for 2021? Are you sticking with your pick yesterday? I will give you the option to change your mind. You've got the time it takes. The horses to load.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I've seen enough. I don't need to wait for the horses to load. I'm sticking with Lagarde to win this. I'm switching my second around. I'm going with Antibes to run second. I'll go with Forever Together to run third, and Forest Flame to run fourth.
Forest Flame, the favourite, only fourth for Mohit Lalvani. Mandira, and you're pretty set on your pick?
I stay with Antibes to win. I think Ramunctious will run a big race, so I wouldn't rule her out completely. Lagarde, 3, and Forever Together 4.
Okay, I like a plucky outsider because I consider myself a plucky outsider in life. So I'm going with Christopher Wren for Neil Darashar. Many thanks to Neil as well. He's done some great work on our social media with Antibes Jane over the last couple of days. Don't forget, if you're new to One Play Sports, give One Play Sports a follow on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like, share and comment on all our posts, and keep checking back for all the very best in post-race reaction, because Antibes Jane and our team who've done a great job in Bangalore this week, Sunil and Santosh, will be creating content all the way through the early evening and into the late night in Bangalore for everyone around the world to just feel what an incredible event this Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021 is. I must say, Mandira, lovely to see them get to the start in good time. This has been run like absolute clockwork. The previous race went off on time, and all indications are, depending on how long Forest Flame takes to get there, is that this race is going to start on time as well.
You know, the thing is that I think the phygital mode is really working out for horse racing, because I have seen there when you're on ground, there are so many people. And Mo, I'm sure you'll agree, we've seen this in the past, that the favourites in the various derbies or the various races, they do feel what a big day it is because of the kind of crowd around them and that cheering, that excitement. They feel it, it's palpable. It's not there now, you know. They're more relaxed. The day is not getting to them as we've seen it before. And what do you think? Do you think that actually the crowds not being there could be a positive thing?
Well, it could be for the horses. I mean, you'll remember this, Mandira, when you and I were on air for Mystical's Derby, you know, related to Forest Flame. And I remember, Mystical looked superb in the paddock. I remember when I was writing for one of the newspapers during that time, and we were live on air, and I really thought that he was one of the best I've seen in a long time. And from the moment, I remember we took a break and he left the parade ring and came to the starting gate, and we got a look at him. He was awash in sweat, and I just said, he's run his race, and you know, and it was the only start apart from his juvenile career that he lost, and you know, apart from in his juvenile career. But you're right. I think the horses, without having the eyes and the noise and the hustle and bustle of an audience, definitely do settle down a lot better.
Just seeing Trevor Patel, there's now on the back of Forest Flame, who, thanks to the great work of the track staff and indeed the sizes and the team behind him, have got her down to the start okay, and the punters have taken notice. Forest Flame is being supported all the time, now into 2-1. We thought this might be a wide open betting heat, but they are not backing off on this support for Forest Flame. It was predicted 6-4 this morning. You were quite right, Mo. It did open up 5-2 on track, but the money has come. And Nick Child, you're not surprised. You've been sweet on Forest Flame all the way through the build-up to this race. You think the 1,000 guineas form is going to hold up for this unbeaten filly, and the market support can only make you more confident, surely.
Yeah, it certainly can, Pat. Obviously, and great to see those shots now. Trevor Patel in the irons. She's certainly a lot more relaxed than what she was on her way to post, and I guess the most sensible thing was to lead her down. There she is, rather, just going through the shot there, looking very calm and relaxed. Trevor Patel, who has won a few derbies prior to today, and he'll be hoping to win another as well. Just quickly on some trends, 15 classics this year. There's been 10 winning favourites, and they've got a good record in this race, especially 4 winning favourites in the last 10 years as well, and a couple of unbeaten horses have come into this derby and took the big prize as well. So she's got some very key stats against her name as well.
I'll tell you something, I like those stats. If you're back in Forest Flame, the punters don't like to leave their money behind on track in India as the first couple go forward. Very quickly, last thoughts from you, Mandira and Mohit. Final word?
Antibes.
Antibes?
I'm sticking with Lagarde. I just hope the jockey holds his nerve. He's not won a derby before. Let's hope he holds his nerve.
Last couple going forward. So without any further ado, live on One Play Sports, let's cross back over to the best in the business, our ace caller, Nick Child, to call them home in the 2021 Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby. Can't wait, Nick. Do it justice.
Yes, thank you very much, Pat. Thank you, guys. A really exciting race coming up here in Prospect. Christopher Wren going into gate number 1. And the remainder of the field loading away. Forest Flame going into gate 3. They'll shut those gates in front of her. 1.5 miles in front of them for this Group 1 feature. And we've only got a couple more still left to load. Superb renewal of this race. Plenty of classic form on show. Forever Together goes in. Drawn in gate number 2. Will very shortly make his way into the gate. Could he be the leading chance for the boys in this race? It's a race dominated by fillies, quite possibly. And we're just about set. They're off and racing over 1.5 miles for the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby of 2021, and a good even dispatch as well. Perfect Imagination will drop to the tail of the field early as Antibes, with the proven stamina, will make her way to the front of the field, being followed then in second by Lagarde on settling down with the white sleeves. Acaster, one of the outsiders with the green cap, is next in third spot as they settle fully into stride. Sovereign Legend is caught deeper on the track, just being preceded through then by Ramunctious in the yellow, red and blue jacket. Down towards the inside is Forever Together as they race past the mirror with a circuit to run in the derby. Now, right out the back, Forest Flame is fiercely keen, stepping up in trip here this afternoon. She'll need to settle to see out the 1.5 miles, all right. And looking to the back of the field, we've got Christopher Wren, and last of all is one of the roughies, Perfect Imagination. So they're very well spaced out at an early stage as they race on down the back here at Bangalore. And out in front, it's Lagarde who leads the way, shows out the winner of the Bangalore 2,000 guineas. Acaster in second with a green cap. Ramunctious, who was second in an Oaks last time with Antibes. They raced almost as one. The noseband on the inside, predominantly red jacket, is Forever Together as they race past the 1,400 metres marker. Now, Forest Flame, she has made ground up on the outside and still pulls for more rain under Trevor Patel. She is rank in the noseband with the white stripe on the red sleeves. Sovereign Legend follows her through. Looking to the back of the field, we've got Christopher Wren, and last of all is Perfect Imagination, whips the 9 in as they begin to race towards the end of the back straight, and they really do 2. Constantina up here. It's Lagarde who leads the way in the Derby. In second place, Acaster. Now going up on their outside is Forest Flame. She's made giant strides. Ramunctious is on her inside. Antibes with the proven stamina next as they race past the 800 metres marker. Sovereign Legend following. Forever Together is well and truly smothered up from Christopher Wren, and Perfect Imagination struggling out the back as they begin the swing back towards home. They've got 600 left to go in the Derby, and it's Lagarde who shows the way here. He begins to go through the gears now on the leader as the dash for the cash is on in the Derby. Antibes in second, now in clear sailing. Forest Flame around the outside. Forever Together the inner. They're being followed then by Christopher Wren, who's improved. Ramunctious still being asked for a bit more effort. It is Lagarde still in front in the Derby, being chased down then by Antibes the outside. Forever Together the inside. Forest Flame is the outside of those runners. It's Lagarde in front. He runs around a bit. Ramunctious switch towards the inside. Forever Together. Forest Flame's not picking them up from Sovereign Legend. It's Lagarde in front in the Derby, and Lagarde will win the Derby. Beats into second. Forest Flame, a close go with Sovereign Legend. Antibes was back in fourth. Forever Together next. Ramunctious, Christopher Wren, Perfect Imagination, and Acaster, who was prominent early, was the last to complete in the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby of 2021.
And brilliantly called by Nick Child in the commentary box. And I tell you what, we may as well have a Cheshire cat in the One Play Sports studio because he's trying to play it cool. He was watching that race. He's the coolest customer in the world. He was watching the race, Mohit Lalvani, with his nose pressed to the screen. And I think you thought you had Lagarde with this sewn up fully 2 furlongs out, Mohit. I mean, he certainly wasn't stopping.
He certainly wasn't. And I think, you know, full marks to the ride. I mean, Akshay has ridden a brilliant race. There was no early pace. He was drawn wide. Rather than go back to the field, which is what he's done in the past, he decided to take over the running over the 1.5 miles and lead them home over a really grueling track. And I think he's, you know, it's wonderful to see him win this race. You know, for the connections, of course, but just wonderful to see him win this race. It's super to watch a young upcoming jockey come out and probably have the biggest moment of his career.
Nick, I mean, it seems churlish to start looking forward to the Indian Derby in Mumbai because we want Lagarde to enjoy his moments of success. But do you think at the inquest to this race there'll be some question marks about the slow pace? Because, I mean, obviously for one, Forest Flame you picked up in commentary was really having a tough time. Trevor Patel trying to keep hold of her. Do you think it was a slow enough pace there? They didn't really go true early, did they?
They didn't, no. And I think this winner was allowed to dictate. And just reiterating what Mohit said there, obviously a great ride here from Kumar, who's gone on and got the money here in a massive feature. This horse who's already won a couple of guineas here at Bangalore and also at Pune as well, and what a performance it was. And having done a bit of research on his pedigree earlier on today, all a family of milers, but he certainly bucked that trend here this afternoon by taking this 1.5 mile contest. And look, there was no fluke about it at all, and if anything, just the way he ran around a bit in the closing stages looked as if he might have had a bit more to give. It didn't look like a laboured running around. It just looked like he was getting a little bit lonely, because once he kicked on, he had a nice buffer on the field and they had to chase him, not the other way around, and he's seen it out very strongly indeed. Huge run from Sovereign Legend and Forest Flame, very, very close for second and third there, and Antibes has run a gallant race back in fourth. But look, it's a worthy winner of the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby, most definitely.
And, you know, I couldn't agree with you more. When I was watching him up the straight and I was watching the, you know, he just seemed to still run a bit green. He was getting lonely, as you said, and, you know, just kind of pricked his ears forward for a moment to say, where are the rest? And when they came at him, he almost steadied himself and ran back at the line, which is really interesting. I think with the Indian Derby now on the 28th of March, that's been announced last night. That gives him a month. Is that confirmed, that date, man? That's confirmed, and that gives him a 1.5 months to actually get there. Now we will see some improvers. Forever Together did challenge on the rail, possibly didn't see at home, experience, perhaps. But I think this one is one that we want to keep our eye on. I'm trying to think back. I mean, are we looking prematurely? I should say, Nick, and I have a tendency to do this. Are we looking at a Triple Crown winner?
Look, it might not be impossible. I think the way he's won that race today, I think wherever they decide to run him next, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility. He'll get his head in front again. He's a lovely stamp of a horse, and he certainly covered plenty of ground there in the run. And look, let's not forget, he's sort of done it the hard way, because, you know, whereas horses like Forever Together have taken plenty of cover, obviously poor old Forest Flame had to do it very much tough there. She was far too keen to do herself justice, but again, her class has got her through into a placing. But Lagarde has done it the hard way. He's won his Derby on merit, and I think we might just be seeing a horse who will be remembered for many years.
Got to congratulate the owners as well, because the owners, of course, who have invested so much here. The trainer we've spoken about, SS Atalahi, he's already had 2 of the first 3, having won the feature race yesterday. Mr. Rama Seshu Iyumi, Mr. KN Dinijaboy, Mr. ZK Dinijaboy, and the 5 Stars Shipping Company, along with Mr. P. Prabhakar Reddy. So the owners will be absolutely relishing this moment.
And I could help Patrick with that. That's
yes.
KN Dhanji Boy. I could help him with that.
They're also the breeders.
And
oh, sorry.
Yeah, they are the breeders as well. And you know, Nick, you made a point. You know, this is from a family of milers. But, you know, we talked about this yesterday, and I just picked up on the fact that his broodmare sire is Glory of Dancer. And, you know, there was a time, Antonius's year and 2 or 3 years around that, when the Glory of Dancer, the progeny, were dominating over 1.5 miles. And, you know, we had a number of, we had two back-to-back Indian Derby winners by Glory of Dancer. So I'm not surprised that that influence is coming through. And also, very, very, very importantly, the Nick that you have is the same as another one from the Nanoli stud, Jack Frost, who actually did get much further, up to 3,000 meters.
I'm drowning in stud books here. Nick, help me out.
Well, look, I'm with Moet here as far as breeding goes. But look, you know, it's fascinating. And one thing I will say, obviously, with my very, very, you know, very, very minor knowledge of Indian racing, is the fact that the pedigree runs so deep, and the tradition and the history, and again, going back to having Kingfisher Ultra on board as well, it all lends itself so nicely for what is a spectacle, and these are moments that these connections have been dreaming about for years, I'm sure, to win these big races, and great for it to happen. And as we say, this horse is a colt, so will we see a few offspring of a Bangalore Derby winner in years to come, perhaps winning more derbies?
There's confirmation of the photograph for second place. It was very close indeed, but it looks like the horse on the near side has just pipped for second place, and we can confirm that now as we give you the 1, 2, 3 in the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021. Confirmation that Lagarde gets the better of Sovereign Legend, who ran a great race at a big price, and Forest Flame, the gamble of the race, was only third. And one thing's for sure, barring some very extraordinary goings on between now and the 28th of March, Lagarde is going to start a red-hot favourite for the Indian Derby in Mumbai off the back of that performance.
I agree, Patrick, but I think we'll, you know, for Forest Flame, it's a challenge, because, you know, Nick picked it up in the race. She didn't really settle. She travelled wide. She saw daylight all the way home, possibly because it wasn't a true run race, and we might see a slightly better filly, you know, in the event that they run true in Bombay, and they will run true in Bombay.
It's a bigger field, always, the Indian Derby in Mumbai, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of a cavalry charge, so they will get a better pace in Mumbai.
And it's always a fast pace. It's always a very quick pace. 2:32.219. That's a pretty quick time, considering he's done that from the front. So, what's interesting, and I'd like to pose this question over to you know, to Nick. You know, you've got about a 4-length verdict between the winner and Antibes. Do you think, out of the start, when Antibes had the option to go to the front, she should have done so?
It's a fair point, actually. I mean, she may well have obviously, you know, given up what was a potentially winning lead to the eventual winner. And let's not forget as well, Pat made the point on the preview show yesterday, the winner was giving 1.5 kilos to her as well. So, I mean, there could have been that argument to use best use that 1.5 kilo weight allowance that the fillies get.
Nick, let's have a look back at the closing stages again, which will just back up the point both you and Mohit made, that even though he started wandering about, there was never really a moment's worry, because they were coming, but they were coming far too quickly. And it wasn't as if he was gasping for the finish line. It wasn't one of those where they're wandering about and anything was flying from the back. I mean, the more I look at this now, I think he's, by no question, the winner on merit on the day, but you'd certainly like to take a look at Forest Flame if she settled better in the preliminaries and they went a bigger pace and a bigger field, and she could be just locked away on the inside of a strong pace.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I mean, where was she drawn today? She was drawn in 3, but because she was so keen, Trevor Patel had no real option but to sort of hook her to the outside and obviously let her stride on, and with that she did settle, and she's seen it out nicely enough. But yeah, look, the winner's done it on merit. If anything, he's idled around a bit in the closing stages, and I think there's certainly value value for more, and can't wait to see him next time. As you say, in a bigger field, it'll be a much more interesting race, but he'll be bang there.
There's no doubt that he's a very, very special horse. And what a fantastic start it's been for the Derby Festival for Kingfisher, right? We're going to start with the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby, and that's the stage that's being set for the presentation ceremony for the obviously ecstatic connections. And this will finally culminate in the Kingfisher Ultra Indian Derby, which is going to be in Mumbai. And I'm sure we can get Kingfisher to maybe announce a bonus if it's the same horse wins.
Well, listen, just as the presentation party gets set, I think we can cross live trackside to Bangalore. Anubhav is there. This guy's a maestro. Don't tell me he's got the winning jockey again. Anubhav, who are you with there in Bangalore?
Akshay, massive congratulations, mate. Walk me through how you're feeling right now.
Thank you so much. I'm feeling very happy because after a long time I won Classic. And thanks to Mr. trainer Suleiman sir and the owner Dhanjibhai sir, Prabhakar Reddy sir and Ramunctious sir. They encouraged me and I had to.
What was your racing strategy? Walk me through the entire race from start to finish.
I think just I want to go to the front. If somebody was going, just want to sit second. But nobody's went. I just make my own pace. And according to the horses, I improve. And he given me winner.
Before this, Lagarde had 4 starts, 3 wins. Now 5 starts and 4 wins. So he's quite he's on a purple patch, isn't he?
Yeah, really, of course.
Good luck. Thank you so much and all the very best. Cheers. Over to you in the studio, Patrick.
Thanks, Anubhav. That was marvellous work getting hold of Ashkay Kumar. Congratulations to him. A penny for the thoughts, by the way, of Suraj Naradi, who rode Lagarde in the Guineas and missed out on the Derby. Now let's get back to those live presentation pictures if we can, because I know Mohit and Mandira will know some of the great and the good in Bangalore. Just seeing if we can get that feedback to soak up the presentation. There we have it. So talk us through the great and the good there. Of course, I think I can see Mr. Gurpreet Singh, who's done such a wonderful job, the GM of UB, the sponsors, Kingfisher. Who else have we got there, Mohit?
Well, you've got pretty much the who's who of Bangalore racing, that's for sure. And, you know, I see a lot of familiar faces out there, people who I've worked with over the years. And, you know, I have to say, it's always such a pleasure working with the Bangalore Turf Club. This year especially, I must a big shout out to Hari Mohan Naidu, who's really been my, you know, my sounding board and helped me really put things in place, even though we weren't sitting in, Bangalore this year. I think they're just waiting for the jockey to arrive so that they can.
Who was held up by Anubhav. Probably.
Who was held up by Anubhav, but that is the trophy for the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021, the Winter Derby. We do have a Summer Derby when things do kind of resume.
That's the other thing, right, which has made this race even more special. There was no precursor to the Winter Derby. There was no indication. There was no real prep, so to speak, prep race to determine the form or how what the horses have on each other.
You know, I think just coming back to what you said, Mandira, you know, we've, for those of you who took a close look at the graphic, especially during the runners and riders graphic, on one side you saw the Bangalore Derby, on the other side you saw the Indian Derby, and it's only because of the fact that these two have culminated into a festival of racing.
I think we actually might be able to pick up the on-track audio now to soak up this presentation ceremony. Let's see if we can get that audio. If we can, it'd be wonderful to hear it in its entirety as the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby for 2021 presentation ceremony is underway. Let's listen at the track and see if we can pick it up. No, unfortunately, I don't think we can get the audio, which is a little bit frustrating, but luckily we've got the Encyclopedia Britannica of Indian racing here in Mohit. We've obviously got the winning connections. I reeled them off earlier, as well as the breeders. And obviously, in India, you do get to see lots of racing partnerships, which is wonderful to see, Mohit. You don't see too many solo owners. There always seems to be a team behind the very best horses, and that's the case with the team here behind Lagarde.
Well, that is, there is Khushru Dhanjibhai on the inside, and I don't have my reading glasses, but you know, he's a passionate racehorse owner, and it's wonderful to see. Actually, I'm actually pleased to see this horse run with his partners and run in his partner's silks as against his. Ramunctious ran in his silks, but it's always good to. Our cameraman seems to be having a bit of a wander, like Lagarde did in the closing stages of the race. And that's really an exciting moment to win a derby, to hold that trophy up. It's really exciting. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I can tell you that.
Again, obviously, all roads will now lead to the Indian Derby in Mumbai, the Kingfisher Ultra Indian Derby, which, as Mohit told you earlier, will be on the 28th of March. We'll be bringing that to you live on One Play Sports as well. But bearing in mind the curtailed calendar, the nature of this unique season because of the COVID restrictions, that is going to give the horses a 2-month break. I think Nick alluded to it earlier as well. Is that, I mean, are these horses going to have prep runs in that 2-month break? Or if you were training the car, would you send them straight to Mumbai, or would there be runs in between?
No, there would be runs in between. You'll have the Ramnivas Ruya Trophy in Bombay, which is a lead up. You'll have another one here in Bangalore. You'll have, so all of these will go over to Bombay. At least the 1, 2, 3, even the 4 should go over to Bombay. You'll have Black Pearl coming across from Calcutta. There's Debu, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of UBL, and Gurpreet, who's the Head of Marketing. So you will have these coming over. That's SS Atale, the trainer, the winning trainer, and he's getting his trophy from Debu, the Chief Marketing Officer.
Great 2 days, hasn't he? Feature race yesterday, Derby today. I mean, he's the trainer in form.
That's right. But waiting in the wings for these winners is the Calcutta Derby winner, Black Pearl, who's unbeaten and will be heading over to Bombay for the and Akshay, what a moment this is, heading over for the Indian Derby out there. You'll have the winner of the Hyderabad Derby converge there too, and possibly you may see 1 or 2 from here even head over to Hyderabad for the Derby. It's going to be a great race, and I certainly hope from everything I've seen today that Nick, you're going to be there to join us.
I'll be there.
Good man.
I won't miss this.
Good man. It's exciting, isn't it? It's it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I think Forest Flame surprised me the way she finished on, despite taking such a strong hold in the race all the way through. You'd expect horses like that to pretty much go flat once they turn for home. She didn't, and she's run on nicely.
There'll be those, Nick, won't they, that think that Forest Flame, they'll find the excuses, they'll see the slight antics in the prelim and the way the race was run, that I think if they can get a price on Forest Flame to turn around the form, they'll feel reasonably confident, because she won't be starting favourite against the winner here next time, you wouldn't think.
I don't think so, no. I mean, unless she's flying in her track work and there's some great reports of her and they think that they've got her nice and settled. But look, it's a shame she's got beaten today, but she's still all class, and I'm sure they'll go away, re-evaluate things and bring her back for the big one coming up very shortly.
I just want to check one more time. I don't think we can get the audio from the track. It's a slight technical glitch, unfortunately, so apologies for that. So let's come back to the studio as we sign off. It's a bit frustrating watching the interview without being able to hear it. So we'll come back live to the studio here. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a very quick break so we can acknowledge our good friends at Kingfisher Ultra, and then we'll come back to wrap up what's been a very special show here on One Play Sports, as the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Bangalore 2021 has gone the way of the boys and Lagarde.
Welcome back to our telecast of the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby. It's been a fantastic race and an incredible start to the Kingfisher Ultra Derby Festival. Remember, it started here in Bangalore. It will finish in Mumbai for the Indian Derby, the Kingfisher Ultra Indian Derby 2021. The usual suspects will be here, as will Nick, hopefully. And if we could go there in person, that'll even be just an added dimension, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic, Mandira. I know you're itching to go to Mumbai. I know Mohit certainly is. And Nick, obviously, you've been fortunate to call some big races all over the world. A great experience for you. I'm sure you've called Indian Classics before, but that's another one to add to the roll of honour in the Nick Child resume. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, enjoyed it very much so, Pat. It's been great being here in the studio, obviously, and you know, wouldn't it be quite something if we could all be there, but sadly not the case, but still a privilege to have called it. And as you say, I can add this one to a Deccan Colts Classic as well over in Hyderabad, which was a great experience. So yeah, look, great race. It didn't let us down. In fact, if anything, I think it delivered more than it promised over in Bangalore today, and certainly looking forward to the big one coming up later on this year as well.
Wonderful to have you with us, Nick. Many thanks indeed for joining us in the One Play Sports studio to give us your world-class calling on the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021. I've got good news for the whole crew here because, of course, this production has been made possible by some sensational work behind the scenes, both here in Singapore and Bangalore. And we have a long-standing tradition at One Play Sports that the man that picks the winner of the Derby goes out and buys everybody Kingfisher Ultra after the race. So, Mr. Mohit Lalvani, the drinks are very much on you, and I will leave the final word to you, sir, because I know the good people at Kingfisher and, of course, Indian horse racing are very close to your heart. So, final words from you.
Well, I think it's wonderful to see horse racing back, you know, considering that sport has been challenged by the pandemic. I think they've done such a wonderful job to get it back. You know, it's incredible. There's so much by way of livelihood that depends on it, and from grooms to breeders to you know, people who bring up the horses, nutritionists, you name it. There's so much that depends on it. And I just think there's a lot to be offered to our viewers for such a beautiful sport. You know, it can get complicated, and for those that are uninitiated, all I can say is take the time, get involved. It's a game worth following.
And I'm going to just add to that, sorry to take away from that, Mohit, and we are going to help you in that journey, because here on One Play Sports, on every single platform, it isn't the end of the action, it's the start of the action. We've started with the Bangalore Derby, we will culminate in the Indian Derby, and in this time frame, in this umbrella, in this time frame, there'll be a lot of stories, lots of anecdotes from the track, and lots of little pieces of trivia that will definitely get you engaged. So we want you to come back to us for the Indian Derby and engage with us. Send us your comments, your feedback. You know, just be a part of the telecast. We'd love that, wouldn't we?
Very much so. Like, share, follow and comment. Give us a follow on Twitter as well, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then you won't miss any of the great One Play Sports horse racing that's coming your way over the coming weeks and months, courtesy of our friends at Kingfisher Ultra. So that just about does it. Time to sign off from the One Play Sports studio. Keep checking back with us for more updates from Bangalore as the build-up begins and all roads lead to Mumbai for the Indian Derby, brought to you by our friends at Kingfisher Ultra. From Nick, Mandira, Mohit and myself, we will say cheers, and of course we raise a glass to the champion of the Kingfisher Ultra Bangalore Derby 2021. That horse is Lagarde. Stay safe, everybody.
Cheers.